Today we're with Dr. Nick, who's a specialist in golf rehab, mobility, and strength training. And in this video, we'll be going over the top 10 exercises golfers need to be doing to improve their mobility and strength for the golf swing. And for each exercise, we'll provide a demonstration on how to do the exercise, how to test if this is something you need to work on, and give you an explanation on why this is important for helping your golf swing in the first place. So by the end of this video, you will know exactly what you need to work on and what exercises you need to do to improve your swing. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
All right, so the first test we're gonna do is the shoulder 90-90 test. This will tell us if the next three exercises are things you really need to focus on, or if you can put that kind of on the back. So the shoulder 90-90 test tells us, do we have full access to shoulder external rotation for the golf swing? So the shoulder 90-90 test is just standing up, palms facing towards the ground, and AJ will have you do it even. Let's go palms down towards the ground. I want you to just rotate one hand. We'll do this backside shoulder first. So rotate this, try to get the fingers back as far as you can. So what we can see here is we want to get to spine angle or beyond. And we say he's just a little bit beyond spine angle. Looks like he's working pretty hard to get there though, right? Yeah, a little cramping happening, yep. That's not uncommon. Part two of this test is, imagine you're holding a 5-iron, get into that position, and then do that same thing. And we're gonna be looking, can we get to spine angle or beyond? All right, so this really tells us, do we have the motor control ability to do it? And this seems like it got a little bit harder for him. We're probably maybe just under spine angle. We see how it's kind of cutting through that angle there. So this right side external rotation is something that you'd say would be worth working on for AJ. You can relax there. So what are three things, if you struggle with this test, let's go over three exercises that can help. Whether you're someone who's got pain in the shoulder or pain somewhere else, we can just modify these exercises slightly to get you to where we want you to be. But right now, if we're just looking at pure performance and we want to get a little bit of mobility and strength through that mobility back into the shoulder, we can do these three things here.
And this is definitely an important test I see in all good golfers. When you compare at least my swing to professionals or just amateurs to professionals, a big indicator of a good golf swing is when you're at impact and you've got this rotation in your arm, basically the test, your elbow bent back, and at impact, you look like this, right? And so I've been having some trouble getting to that position because I lack mobility. And so these exercises are hopefully some that can help me out and I can incorporate into my normal workout routine and then make it a little more golf specific. So let's get into these exercises.
All right, let's do it. We're gonna hang out over here. So first thing I wanna get you doing is working on centrating the shoulder joint and then moving through an internally and externally rotated shoulder on top of that. So to show you what it looks like, if we're gonna focus on this right side shoulder, I want us starting in the sideline position, hips are at about 45 degrees, feet are just kind of stacked up on top of each other. What we want to do is get as much width through your shoulders here as you can. So think pushing this shoulder into the ceiling. What I want to do here is we're going to rotate over this top side elbow and then open back up. The key here is that we're going to maintain tension, pushing this elbow into the ground the whole time. So I want you to get like a 5 out of 10 tension, and we're going to slowly roll over that shoulder. We're going to hang out here for about 5 seconds, and then we're going to push that elbow, continue to push through the ground,
so you push back up through your elbow.
That's right, you're pushing this down, which is essentially creating this motion here. But again, with it being locked onto the ground there, it's going to open you back up instead. You're gonna feel the back of that shoulder and those small muscles of the shoulder joint start to kind of catch on fire a little bit.
No, that looked painful just by looking at it.
And we're also getting shoulder adduction, just a lot of other motions that need to happen in that shoulder joint to have a healthy, effective shoulder. So a second way that we can do this to create increased mobility, but also especially strength at that end range, is this FRC drill that I'll have you do.
So would this be exercise number 2?
Exercise number 2.
So top 10 exercise, that was exercise number 1. So do you say that's maybe the most important? Or
it's a great place to start, yep.
Great place to start for the golf swing.
Let's do this. We're gonna use these. We're gonna come back to our mats here. Starting position, we're gonna be laying face down. We want our shoulders basically in that shoulder 90-90 test position, but instead of here, they're gonna be up on these yoga blocks. If we can, we'll even go up here. The drill here is we're gonna push down, 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 give me a 2 out of 10. We're gonna ramp that up to a 10 or a 9 out of 10 effort, trying to push down. After 45 seconds of that, we're gonna do lift-offs, where we lift up, hold for 5 seconds, bring back down, do it again. So 5 lift-offs at the end, okay? So what I want you to do is give me like a 2 out of 10. You're just kind of rotating your hand down into the block. Nothing too crazy.
I definitely feel it though.
Already, right? Because
Yeah.
you're at your kind of end range of position. Give me a 3 out of 10. So when you get strong at this end range, we'll do a 4. And I'm gonna move you along pretty quick. We'll do a 5. We'll do a 6. And you can, if you didn't have a hat on, you could rest your forehead into the ground or into a towel. Give me a 7. Jump. And we'll do an 8. Try not to cramp. And let's do a 9. And relax there. Good.
Ooh.
Now what I want you to do is try to raise your hands up off the block, leaving those elbows down at the ground. Just like that. Beautiful. Good. Do both sides. Oh, you are.
Both sides at the same time?
Yep. There it is.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
And we've crippled them.
Okay, let's get back to it. Oh,
So what we're going to do is 5 lift-offs where we hold for, we'll do 3 seconds in this case,
right.
okay? So 3 to 5 seconds. And then you relax it back down, and we'll do one more.
So just left hand?
Let's do both. 3, 2, 1, and back down.
I can't do it.
So we get a cramp. Let's do just the right arm. We'll show you what a couple reps looks like. And so we can see we really struggle to be strong in that end range position or to use those muscles there, right? And that's why those muscles are immediately cramping. They're not used to being strong at end range. That's what we need to get you good at.
All right,
Okay.
so that's exactly what this is training.
End range, so when we train in this end range position, we improve our mobility. And then we also improve our control over that mobility, okay? Again, even if we can passively get you into these positions, or up here it's pretty easy, when we have a club in our hand and we're trying to be fast and quick, we need to make sure that we have as much control in this position as we can. So doing drills like this on the ground, where we can really build up strength here, means that we can maintain that position as we come down and through, right? Because the more and more down we come, the more and more we use those muscles. You can feel them starting to work a little bit harder, right? So we have to be strong there. All right, so now a third thing we can do for that shoulder rotation test to work on all these things we talked about, a version of it, and you know, I apologize, I'm looking this way. We can have a band, a pretty light band. You can hold it wherever you need to, but essentially what we want to do is think about rotating our chest into our hand, keeping that elbow kind of locked at our side here. So think you're like in a very deep backswing, and then trying to rotate out of it, keeping that hand position where it is. So here we can even work on some separation, but once we rotate that trunk, I want you to keep that elbow tucked down at the side. So if I was a lefty, I'd be
Maybe go behind.
working in this position here, and I'm trying to keep that elbow tucked in there as we come around. You're gonna feel those small muscles of that upper back and shoulder. Again, just working to hold that externally rotated position.
To feel what that's like.
Yep.
Which, if my impact position looked like that, I would be really happy.
Happy with it, yeah. Yep, exactly.
All
Good.
right.
So those are 3 things that you can start incorporating through exercises to improve your shoulder 90-90 test. If you're doing it at home, retest, see how much better it feels, and then continue to work those things into your daily routine.
Yeah, and I can almost guarantee if you're an amateur golfer, this is 100% something you have to work on. Just take a video of your swing and look at yourself, pause it at impact position. When you're in slow motion, you'll likely have straight arms and look like this. That's not where you want to be. To get to scratch, or to really be getting good ball striking, to compress the ball, to get all the things you want to hit the ball how you want to, you have to have that right elbow tucked in and that right arm back. That's how you get the hands out in front and you compress the ball. So this is something I'm working on right now, so it's definitely something I needed to do just for my own swing.
Make sure you address the physical side too.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Exercise number 4.
All right, so for our 4th exercise, we're gonna be working on hip mobility, especially hip internal rotation. What I find almost most common with golfers is they are missing hip internal rotation on either or both sides. So the exercise is essentially gonna be a split squat. We've all done a split squat like this. We're just gonna add a little extra. So you can go hands across your shoulders. You can grab a club or a PVC pipe just to help give you that visual. Where we're up here, we're just gonna do a split squat, but on the way up, we're gonna rotate into that hip. Okay, so from here, we're weight bearing. We have, again, 90% of the weight on that front foot. As we come up and push force and load down into the ground, we want you to also rotate that pelvis into the hip. You will feel this groin or adductor start to work a little bit hard too, on top of quad and everything else. So this helps teach the body how to pull yourself back into that internal rotation position. Now, a way that we can test to see if this is something that you really want to work on is what we call the lower quarter rotation test. This is where we're gonna be standing up on one side and we're just rotating into this hip. So whether it's your lead side hip or your downside hip, we want at least 60 degrees of rotation. So that's essentially the pelvis rotating. If this is 0 degrees, just about here will be closing in on 60 degrees. What you can do is just see, can I get to like 45, right? Can you get about halfway to 180 or to 90 degrees? If you can't, then we know we definitely need to work on this. If you can get a little bit past 45, then you're probably closing in on 60 degrees, you might be okay. All right, so that's how we can kind of start to determine if this is a great exercise for you, where we're specifically adding in some internal rotation components to it.
And then how is this relative to the golf swing? So being able to do this exercise, how will this help you in the golf swing?
So on the backswing, if we're on our right side, what we need to do is be able to get from the lower quarter, or this lower half here, is about 60 degrees of turn. On this backside hip, this is doing internal rotation. On the downswing, TPI had found the same thing. We want to get to 60 degrees of internal rotation. Most people do okay with this external rotation on the downswing and external rotation on the backswing. But where they struggle is getting into the internal rotation on the other side. So if we can free up and create space for internal rotation on the backswing, on our backside leg, then we can get comfortably into the backswing and we can work on, again, creating a backswing without losing posture, things like that. And we can work on whatever else we're trying to do with our backswing.
Just rotation in the hips.
Rotation at the hips, yep.
Awesome.
Hips and below. A second exercise that we can do is a little bit more dynamic.
So this will be exercise 5.
Exercise 5.
Exercise 5 out of 10.
Keeping track. We've built some kind of strength into that internal rotation, but we will also need to be dynamic in internal rotation, right? We come up into this backswing, we got a load, a stretch under that hip, and then we got to be able to use it, right? Slingshot out of it. So what we'll use for this is a kettlebell. We'll do a kettlebell swing. Start pretty light with this, and then work your way up. Now, same thing with the positioning. I want you in this kind of split squat position. 90% of the weight, 95 on this front foot. What we're doing here is we're actually going to go on the outside of our leg, and we're doing a kettlebell swing from here. But not only are we going from here, we're also throwing that kettlebell out towards the side. So we're here. As I come in, do you see what's happening at the pelvis? It's rotating into that hip, just like we were working on before, just like a backswing position. And the good news is we get to create that stretch, and then use it, right? Be explosive, be strong. Keep that foot flat on the ground as you do that.
All right.
Okay?
So just come down like this. Or do I not squat down?
Even less knee. Yeah, so more of a hinge.
Oh.
So think we can get a little bit of knee flexion. Yeah, right there. Play around with that. Good. I want you to be weightless at the bottom. Yeah, there you go. Good. Let that kettlebell just kind of fly out. And then take, yep, bingo, there it is. So that was you letting that weight go kind of weightless out here.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I don't know what's happening. And then you caught it quickly.
Yeah.
That's what we want. We don't want it to be slow, strong. We want it to be no weight. All the weight, no weight.
So it's more like
dynamic.
Stretch.
Exactly.
Which is opposite from my normal lifts. It's like
slow,
explode,
steady.
slow.
Sure, eccentric, yeah.
Explode, slow. Huh.
Yep. There it is. There it is, right?
Yeah.
That's the difference. Good.
Whew.
Take a little break. So that's a lot on the hip. So we're using that weight to just pull us into just a little bit more of hip internal rotation. It's exactly what you need for the swing. It's a beautiful drill. It's one of my favorites. And then we get to not only do that, but teach that stretch shortening cycle, that explosive characteristic that we need in these muscles to get into that hip and then get out of it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's great for mobility, even better for strength stability and that dynamic explosiveness.
So I can incorporate that just into my leg day workout.
You'll feel it.
All right.
Yeah.
Exercise 6, I believe.
Exercise 6 out of 10. Another one for hip internal rotation. So let's do some medicine ball throws. What we're doing here is we're using that internal rotation position to again, get into this powerful position, and then we use it. So we get into as much internal rotation as we can, and then we use it.
All right.
So we use a light ball to start, and then we need a wall. So we use this as our barrier to the wall. This is what the drill looks like. If we're going to be working on our left side, so say our lead side, what we're going to do is I want us to rotate away from it, rotate up and in. So we see this kind of load happening here, and then we throw ourselves into that rotation here, right? So this is creating that kind of weightlessness and then explode. So there's a lot of carryover to the golf swing with this drill. What I want to see, what some people mess up, is they will load here, and then they bend, all right? They flex down as they throw. That's not what we do in the golf swing, right? We go up. We create vertical force to throw down.
Yeah.
Okay?
So it's really more in the legs as opposed to the upper body.
Exactly. We get a little chest pass here.
Yeah, chest pass, but it's really
It's all coming
that
from the
that's
lower
throwing the
extremity.
ball. All right.
Yep. Exactly. Do 2 more. Good man.
So just kind of like that.
Exactly. And go up. So give me even more of that vertical extension there. Bingo.
Oh, so you should really feel it in that right glute.
We get a ton of right glute. Yep.
All right.
We'll end up getting the right glute explosive, and you'll feel that left hip starting to fatigue too.
Yeah, I already feel it.
Beautiful. Good, and you feel yourself kicking into that wall too, right? Good.
Should be.
Exactly. And we're able to kick without everything shooting forward.
Yeah.
Right? So it's funny how that works.
So 6 workouts so far. The first 3 workouts were all right elbow or left elbow. So getting those arms. What's it called?
Shoulder external rotation.
Shoulder external rotation. The next 3 workouts were all hip internal rotation.
Yep.
And so those 2 moves are super important for the golf swing and what you see, I guess, a lot of people struggling with.
Definitely.
So 6 workouts to incorporate in your workout routine, and then we still got 4 more. So we'll get to those right now.
Let's do it. All right, exercise number 7 for...
Oh, 7, yeah.
7. Keep you on your toes. We're working on pelvic stability, really in the rotation plane here, so transverse plane. So to improve a golfer's ability, not only to, again, just have mobility here, is we need to work on the hips independently, right? We've done some stuff with the hips already. What I want to focus on specifically with the pelvic rotation is your ability to rotate without everything else kind of coming along for the ride. So this incorporates a lot of things. You need core stability to control what's happening here so that things can move around it. But you also need to have strength stability through the pelvis to actually pull this thing into positions, right? So this first drill is great, especially after you've been working on some things, to start incorporating that. So if we have a PVC pipe, something like this, where I want you to angle it down and towards the side on your backswing side. So from here, I'm gonna get into a backswing. It's kind of an exaggerated backswing. I want you to pull your trunk, pull your pelvis, let everything kind of come along for the ride. From here, I want you just working on separating that lower extremity pelvis. Think about belt, buckle, back towards the center. We call it knees to center. So you see everything else up here is staying stable, strong, facing this way. And I'm just figuring out what muscles do I have to turn on to get that separation to start. Okay?
So it kind of locks your upper body in place.
Yep, it creates artificial almost stability up top so that you can start working on that lower extremity.
And so what was the test to know if you need to do this?
Yeah, so a great test, TPI's test, pelvic rotation, is just imagine like you're holding a 5-iron or a 6-iron, placing your arms up down at your shoulders, and then from here, I just want you to rotate. So what we should see here is that your pelvis is able to rotate without your trunk rotating with it, and without your knees kind of doing one of these, especially not having your feet come off the ground. So we just need to be able to rotate at that pelvis. It should be relatively smooth and easy, right? And as you can see in this drill, we're using that ability in this actual exercise.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then in our last video that we shot, the whole beginner evaluation he did to measure my movement, see my strengths and weaknesses, this was definitely a big weakness for me, as it is common for a lot of other golfers.
Definitely.
And so why is this important to the golf swing, being able to separate your hips from your upper body and not having everything move along with it?
Yeah, well, without going too deep into the kinematic or kinetic sequence, we'll just kind of talk on it briefly, is as we start to transition from our backswing into our downswing, everyone kind of has their own way of swinging a golf club, right? People swing differently and they can be effective, but what all the good players do, no matter what, is they'll lead with their hips. So this means that there will be a little bit of hip separation from our trunk, right? Even if it's very slight, they have the ability to just create that extra stretch through here. After that, they slingshot their trunk around, and there's a little separation from their trunk and their shoulder. Good thing we already worked on shoulder. And then the last thing is the shoulder and then the club, right? And then they can slingshot the club around.
Yeah.
So working on this ability at the top of the backswing to get what it feels like to actually separate, create a little bit of pelvic rotation, and actually a little bit of even lateral slide, right? Not like a full slide, but just this ever slight slide.
Yeah.
Again, creates that stretch shortening cycle that starts the whole cycle, right? That kinematic cycle, right? Or sequence. So
cool.
Now, a very similar drill that we can do that's a little upgraded is we kind of just take away more of our stability. So we're going to be working this a little bit harder. This is the banded knees to center.
Would this be exercise number 8?
This is exercise number 8.
All right, exercise number 8.
All right, so from here, have a very light band behind you. Step out and then let this band pull you into your backswing position, right? So same thing as before. Now we're doing our banded knees to center, right? So same thing, trying to get that knee and pelvis to center while we keep everything stable. We have much less stability holding us back with this little band than we did with that PVC pipe into the ground. Now what we can even do here is create that separation, hold for a sec, and then we can start to come around a little bit. Now if we notice that when we come around, we're kind of chopping our head off, we know that we're kind of instigating more of that over the top swing. So what we can do is just add a little bit extra into that sequencing where we create that separation with the intent of bringing everything else around for the ride, right? It doesn't have to be anything beautiful with the swing. Just get that pelvis separation. And then trunk. And then we can throw in pelvis, trunk with a little bit of shoulder separation and elbow positioning. Okay?
All right.
And then extend this out. Give me a full nice backswing. Go ahead and grab that with your left arm too. Nice. Now same thing. Show me some good separation. Good. So you changed something up there, right? First to second. That first one, you kind of had this whole blocky, kind of everything kind of tilted towards that way. You get that working.
A little cramp.
Good. So you can see just how difficult it can kind of be to really get good at this. But that looks good there. You noticing compared to the PVC pipe? There's nothing pushing him back anymore. So if that's a way that he was creating motion, again, we can't have that happening in the swing. So this is a position we get to work on that.
And so you go hips.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
That would look great, right? Good. Elbows right where we want it. Do it again. Hips, then trunk. Beautiful. Nice. All right, so exercise 9. We're going to be working on pelvic orientation and stability here. Okay. So to do that, let's do this. We're going to do what we call a reverse crunch. Okay. Well, essentially, this is what it's going to look like. I'll show you. We're going to have those bands around our ankles. We're going to let the bands pull us, and we're going to work to keep this pelvis down. So the whole time we're going to take away this big anterior tilt and arch. We're going to pull that back down, and then we're going to maintain that position as these bands try to pull us. The moment we feel this low back trying to arch, we're going to stop, right? Right before that happens, and then we pull back up. So you're going to feel some hip flexor action happening here, but we really want to feel that core working to keep this pelvis positioning down, 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 okay?
All right. So keep the pelvis down, and then why is that useful for the golf swing?
Right, so to have control over that pelvis, well, you need to use the glute, and you need to use the core, right? The glute will help pull it back in that sagittal plane, and the core, just same thing, pulls it up. If we can't control what's happening here at the pelvis, we might dump into that anterior pelvic tilt. This position of the pelvis takes away range of motion from the hips. Okay, so if we're already struggling with hip internal or external rotation, being stuck in this big anterior tilt position, it's going to take away even more hip mobility. Also, a lot of people have that associated low back pain in golf. That anterior tilt position, when we go into a rotated position and then we try to extend or push through, we create compression in that low back. This anterior tilt position adds to that, makes it a little bit worse. Right, so we need to be able to control an anterior to a posterior tilt position.
Yeah, so it can lead to injury, and it can just lead to less hip mobility.
Less mobility, which means more injury and worse performance.
All right, and then for you guys at home to quickly test if this is something you need to do, how should you quickly test if this is what you need to do?
So an easy way to kind of look if you have good motor control is similar to our pelvic rotation, but instead now we're going to do a flexion and extension. So I want to see a big anterior tilt and then take it away, pull it back. What we don't want to see is these knees extending like this, and we don't want to see our trunk doing this. So those angles have to stay the same as we tuck that pelvis underneath and then let it go back out in front.
So you got to have control over that.
Got to be able to control that motion.
All right, let's get to it.
If we can't do it standing up, then we definitely can't do it in a golf swing. All right, so this is exercise 10 where you are working on thoracic rotation, right? So a lot of golfers, we have a lot of rotation restrictions. One of those, the big one, is that thoracic spine, that mid part of the spine, where we can't rotate so well through there. obviously essential for the golf swing. We need to be able to get into this good backswing position without having to fight our mid-back the whole way there. Right? It's just going to lead to compensations. You can only focus on so many things at once. So we can not only get into a good position, we get to resist any sort of compensations, and then same thing to be able to be strong, powerful into the downswing. Okay. A good way to test this is the TPI trunk rotation test. Right? It's a screen that you can do. What we'll need is like an edge of a table or a box or a chair. An even better way to do this, I say, is if you just get on the ground, use a mirror or have a friend videotape you. Bring your knees together, your elbows to your knees, and then place one hand on the small of your back, and then without swaying from side to side, just rotate. So I want you to rotate up towards the ceiling, again, without doing one of these. Don't let that elbow come off to the side. Just stay directly like you're in a barrel and rotate. And we want to see from shoulder to shoulder, you get 45 degrees at least of thoracic spine rotation. So just have a friend video you, and then you can look it back or just place it on something, and you can see, do my shoulders get to 45 degrees, or are they less, or do I get more?
Makes a lot of sense. And then in our last test and kind of episode 1 where we did the evaluation of me, this is definitely something I struggled in. I think I got to like 25 degrees, not even close to 45. And I'm 23 years old, so if you're older than that, you're likely struggling with this as well. So
yeah.
I guess let's get into the exercise.
It's a big one. Good. So for this, and there's a lot of mobility exercises and drills out there already for thoracic spine rotation. What I want to do is try to combine two things, the mobility and then the stability through that mobility. So what we can do is a functional range conditioning drill for the thoracic spine. On your knees, I want you up as tall as you can from your knee position. I want you to squeeze something like a medicine ball. So give it a good hard squeeze. This kind of puts everything on a bit of a like contraction. That's what we want. From here, you're going to rotate as far as you can towards one side, and I mean it, as far as you can. Then you're going to tilt in that direction, extend, all the way around. Now we're tilted as far as we can, and then we're going to just unrotate from that position. And then I like to do the same thing again in that direction, and then twice towards starting in that other direction, right? So we're working through. I want you to keep that good hard squeeze on the ball, working through extension, through here, and then on rotating.
And this seems like something, does this also help with side bend?
Oh, yeah.
There's one thing in my swing, so obviously, as I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to get that right elbow tucked in. I'm trying to get rotation and have a bent right elbow at impact, because right now my arms are straight and my back's up and hunched like that. Yep. So I noticed to have that right arm bent at impact, you have to have side bend.
Yes,
you can't be standing up and have your club's not going to reach the ground.
Right.
And so is this also something that could help with having that?
Yes, it is.
Side bend?
Definitely. The T-spine does not only rotation, but also that lateral flexion, that side bend. Yeah. And we're doing that here as well. So we're just going to improve all things T-spine, thoracic spine with this drill. Nice, you're nice and tall. And let's start with a good full rotation towards your right. Just trying to rotate everything good. And then it'll tilt, tilt, tilt. Squeeze that ball nice and hard. And then from here, trying to extend back and and around. Good. Nice. And then we're kind of crunching forward through there. Yep, and then unrotating there. Excellent.
That was tough.
Yeah, it's simple but effective. Again, we're getting the T-spine to do all of its motions through there, so we can really open up space back to that T-spine and get it moving. It's a great thing to do before a round, too.
Yeah.
About halfway through towards the end of your warm-up, is do something like that to really help improve.
All right, awesome. All right, that was the 10 most important exercises for the golf swing from Dr. Nick. I'm gonna be incorporating those into my normal workout routine. Dr. Nick's an expert, and that's what he determined were the 10 best. And if you want to learn more about this and improve your mobility in the golf swing, which can then help improve your swing in general, check out Dr. Nick's stuff down in the description below. He dives way more into detail on all this stuff. And so if this is something you're interested in, I'd highly recommend that. And if you're in the Nashville area, he is located in Brentwood, Tennessee. And so getting one-on-one training with Nick to where he can actually look at you and help you out in the moment right there in front of him, I think that would be a huge help for those of you that have that ability. So thank you, Dr. Nick, for the help, and 10 exercises for the golf swing, the best ones. There you go.
Try them out.